My son left me alone. My name is Robert Harris. I am 70 years old and live in a small house at the edge of a quiet town. The street outside is peaceful, filled with old trees that shed their yellow leaves every autumn. When the wind blows, it carries memories of laughter that once filled this house. Now there is only silence. I spend my mornings sitting by the window with a cup of tea, watching people walk by. Some are young couples holding hands, some are children running after a ball, and some are old men like me walking with canes, lost in their thoughts. I often wonder if they feel the same emptiness I do. I wasn't always alone. Once this house was full of life. My wife Mary used to fill every corner with her laughter. She was gentle, kind, and strong. We didn't have much money, but we had each other, and we had our son, David. David was our light. When he was born, I held him in my arms and promised myself that I would give him everything I could. I worked long hours as a truck driver, spending days and nights on the road, but every mile I drove had one purpose: to make his future brighter. When I came home, tired and covered in dust, the sight of his little smile made everything worth it. He would run to me shouting, "Daddy's home," and jump into my arms. Those moments were my treasure. As he grew, he became quiet but intelligent. He loved to fix things: broken radios, clocks, toys. He had his mother's patience and my stubbornness. We used to sit together fixing old machines in the garage. He would ask questions about life, dreams, and work. I always told him, "Son, never forget your roots no matter how far you go." He would nod, smile, and say, "I won't, Dad." Years passed. He went to college on a scholarship. I was so proud. Mary and I cried tears of joy the day he left. We waved until the bus disappeared from sight. But life has its own plans. Mary fell sick not long after that, cancer. I spent my savings on her treatment, and when she passed away, half of my soul went with her. I still remember her last words: "Take care of David. Don't let him forget love." I promised her I wouldn't. For a while, David came home often. He helped me with bills, talked about his new city job, and brought gifts. But as time went on, his visits became shorter and his calls less frequent. He always said, "Dad, I'm busy. The city is demanding." I understood. I didn't want to disturb him. I told myself he was young, ambitious, and building his life. But deep inside, I missed him more than I could say. One Sunday morning, I sat alone at the breakfast table, staring at the empty chair across from me, the chair that used to belong to him. The silence in the house was so heavy that even the clock's ticking sounded like thunder. I whispered to myself, "He'll call today." He didn't. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. My phone stayed silent. Sometimes, when I couldn't sleep, I looked at his old room. It was still the same: posters on the wall, books on the shelf, and his childhood toys in a box under the bed. I couldn't bring myself to change anything. That room was my last connection to him. One evening, I found an old photo album. There we were, the three of us, smiling, standing beside our old car on a summer trip. I touched Mary's face in the picture and whispered, "He's forgotten me, Mary. I think he's gone." I cried quietly, not because of anger but because of emptiness. Then came the day everything changed. It was winter and the ground was wet with melted snow. I went outside to water the plants. The path was slippery and I fell. Pain shot through my hip and I couldn't move. I shouted for help, but no one heard. I lay there for hours until a neighbor saw me and called an ambulance. At the hospital, they said I had a minor fracture. I was lucky. I stayed there for a week. No one came to visit, not even David. I tried calling him, but his number went to voicemail. Lying in that hospital bed, I realized something. I had spent my whole life giving love, but somewhere along the way, I had forgotten to give love to myself. I had made my whole happiness depend on others. That night, I decided I would not die in loneliness. When I returned home, I started changing small things. I joined a local senior club where old people met every evening to talk, play chess, and share stories. I began to walk every morning, talk to my neighbors, and even learned how to use the internet. I found peace in helping others. Every Friday, I went to a nearby orphanage and taught the children how to fix broken toys and radios. Their smiles reminded me of David when he was small. Slowly, my heart began to heal. I wrote this in my diary. If life takes something from you, it gives something back, but you must open your eyes to see it. Months passed and I learned to smile again. I wasn't completely happy, but I wasn't broken anymore. I was learning to live for myself. Then one sunny morning, there was a knock at my door. I opened it and there he was, David. Older, tired, with eyes full of regret. He looked at me and for a moment words failed both of us. Finally he spoke softly, "Dad, I'm sorry." I stood still, unable to move. 1,000 memories rushed through me, the laughter, the birthdays, the nights we spent fixing things together. He continued, "I was so busy chasing success that I forgot the man who taught me how to dream. I forgot you." Tears filled his eyes. "I heard from a neighbor that you were in the hospital. I felt ashamed. I left everything and came here. I don't know if you can forgive me." I looked at him for a long moment. Then I smiled. "You came back, that's all that matters." He hugged me tightly. For the first time in years, I felt whole again. In the days that followed, everything changed. David stayed with me for a few weeks. We fixed the garden together, painted the old fence, and laughed like we used to. He told me about his struggles, his loneliness in the city, and how empty success felt without love. I told him stories about his mother, how proud she would be to see him. We cooked together, ate together, and even watched old movies. One evening, while sitting on the porch, he said, "Dad, I want to bring you to the city, live with me. I don't want to lose you again." I smiled. "No, son, this is my home, but promise me one thing, visit often." He nodded, "I promise." And he did. Time went on and our bond became stronger than ever. He visited every weekend, sometimes bringing his wife and little daughter. The house was full of laughter again. The same old rooms that once echoed with silence now echoed with joy. One day, his daughter, my granddaughter, asked me, "Grandpa, were you sad when Daddy was gone?" I smiled and said, "Yes, sweetheart, but sometimes sadness teaches us how to love better." That night, I sat on the same chair by the window. The one where I had once cried alone. I looked up at the stars and whispered, "Mary, he's back, our boy came home." A soft breeze touched my face, as if she was smiling from above. Years passed. David often said that those months when he returned home changed him forever. He learned that love is not about money or time, it's about presence. He started volunteering with me at the orphanage. Together, we taught children how to repair things, not just toys, but broken hearts. One day, he told me, "Dad, I used to think success meant having everything, but now I know it means being grateful for what you already have." I nodded and said, "You finally understand life." We laughed, drank tea, and shared quiet evenings together. Now, as I sit here writing this story, I realize something beautiful. Sometimes, life takes people away so they can learn how to return with a better heart. David's absence taught me patience, and his return taught me forgiveness. People often ask me, "Weren't you angry that your son left you alone?" I tell them no, because in that loneliness I found myself, and when he came back I found joy again. Life is strange, it tests us in ways we don't expect. But if we keep faith, if we keep love alive, even the coldest hearts can find their way home. Today, my house is no longer silent. The garden is full of flowers, my granddaughter's laughter fills the rooms, David sits beside me every weekend fixing things just like old times. Sometimes he looks at me and says, "Dad, thank you for forgiving me." I smile and reply, "Thank you for coming back." Because love, once given, never truly disappears. It waits quietly, patiently, until the one who left finds the way home again. And that, my friend, is the story of a man who was left alone, but never truly lost. Because love found its way back. Moral: no matter how far people go, love can always bring them home. Never lose hope and never stop loving, because sometimes, even silence carries the sound of a heart waiting to be heard.